For New South Wales, the $25 million a year industry depends on these, the Sydney rock oyster. But these are the culprits, the Gygus oyster, sometimes known as the Pacific oyster. The Gygus oyster is distinguished from the native Sydney rock oyster by its spiky lobes. It's far less tasty, but grows very quickly, so fast in fact that it overgrows and dislodges the native oyster. The Gygus also has a greatly reduced shelf life as a live in-shell product compared to the Sydney rock oyster. Port Stephens is the major natural catching area for the New South Wales industry, and any takeover by this unwelcome strain will directly affect the majority of growing areas on the state's coast. Peter Eyre is head of the Fishery Division of the Department of Agriculture.
But in many other parts of the world where that animal's been introduced either accidentally or deliberately, it's become the dominant species and wiped out anything else that ever existed there in terms of other oysters.
Is there a chance that it could have been introduced from the hatcheries here?
No, there's no chance at all. We do breed oysters here, but we breed rock oysters here. That's what the facility's here for. We have never had Crassostrea gygus Pacific oysters on this station. And only until very recently, and the only ones we've had here very recently, we've had as demonstration material to show people. We've never had oysters, Pacific oysters in our hatchery here, and certainly never ever bred them or ever contemplate doing so.
After deliberating for 4 hours, the jury returned a verdict of guilty on charges of murder and robbery by striking and wounding. It was found Michael Bradley bashed and strangled 61-year-old Dwelo Pellerin while he was fishing on Gosford Bridge in March. Bradley then stole Pellerin's car, drove it to Melbourne with his de facto wife Michelle Crowe, where they were later arrested. Michael Bradley has been remanded in custody and will appear before Newcastle Supreme Court tomorrow for sentencing.
Mayfield East hasn't won the first grade premiership since 1955, but at last night's training session at Dangar Park, the general consensus was that 30 years is long enough. Despite May East's optimism though, Uni must go into the game as favourites. They've been the dominating force on the local rugby scene for the last 2 seasons, winning the 84 and 85 minor premierships, as well as last year's grand final. On top of this, University have defeated May East all 3 times the sides have met this season. The most recent in the major semi-final, when the students got home 18-9. There'll be many interesting clashes in the grand final, but according to May East coach Alan Dodd, it'll be his team's do-or-die determination that'll be the difference between the 2 sides.
The feeling down here at the park, especially at the moment, is very, very good. As you said, 31 years, there's 31 years of frustration there, and it's all building up, and I think we can take it out this year.
How close do you think the game will be this weekend?
It'll be very close. Both sides are extremely even. There hasn't been much in any of the games at all this year. I just think our dedication and the will to win will carry us through.
Uni have been a dominating force in the union for the last 2 years. Can you really be justified in expecting to beat them this weekend?
You sure can, because as you said, uni have been dominant, but Mayfield East have been on the ascendancy for a while, and it is our year, and well, we've got everything to gain and nothing to lose, and that's the way I see it.
Who do you think will be the key players in the game this weekend?
Well, for our side, Leon Marigny, who scored 208 points, is definitely a good plus for us. But all the players, they're a team of outstanding athletes, and there's no great stars.
And the greatest worries from the uni side for you?
Well, there's got to be people such as Nick Wright, Bill Wildman, the Hogg brothers, I think it is. They're all good footballers, but when you boil it down to it, it's going to be close.
The combined Nurses Association and HREA meeting was heated from the start. The speakers reported on negotiations with the government, which have ceased until the strikers return to work, and also on how the Richmond report will affect Morisset Hospital. The meeting agreed in principle with the Richmond report, which recommends the transfer of patients into community housing, but they disagree with the implementation strategy. Having worked with patients, they say they are more qualified than most to decide which patients are suitable for community placement. They also want the program to be funded by the mental retardation and psychiatric hospitals, instead of the general hospital system. Another issue is the single register for nurses, which the unions say is unworkable and potentially dangerous. The members voted to remain at work and impose bans on the transfer of patients. Branch Secretary of the Nurses Association, John Lockhart.
The members have decided to remain at work to allow for the consultation processes as recommended to commence on the key issues that the government has not previously allowed to debate on.
From a distance, you could mistake the cars used on the Fun City Indy complex as the real thing. This is a leisure time complex aimed at the dreams of children of all ages, offering a chance to sit behind the wheel of a single-seater racing car, which at least looks pretty much like the real thing. Tomago Speedway promoter Peter Gabriel and partner John Conahan have invested just over $1 million in the sophisticated twin-track layout, which was officially opened by Port Stephens Shire President Roy Taylor. There are two tracks, one with mini Can-Am cars for drivers 9 years and over, and the Grand Prix cars, which have a minimum age limit of 14 years and require the issue of a track licence. The race is against the clock. The track is equipped with a highly sophisticated computerised timing system, accurate to 1/100th of a second. Powered by a 500cc engine, the cars have just one gear and an automatic clutch, so they're easy to drive, and they're low and wide enough to be absolutely safe. Peter Gabriel believes the complex fills a gap in the entertainment needs of the local area.
The infrastructure of Newcastle is such that there is very little in entertainment for the tourists or even for the local people, apart from the beaches and the lake, and when you've done your little bits here and there really is nothing else. And I feel that this has been needed for a long time, and we decided to go ahead and do it.
It's undoubtedly the best sprint race that I've put together, and I'm sure that the increase in prize money and most certainly the increase in distance to 1400 metres has paid a handsome result.
Those are the words of Jockey Club Secretary Brian Judd at the draw today, when final acceptances were taken and starting positions allocated for Tuesday's NBN Cameron Handicap. And here's the field with the top weight Riverdale, a boom horse that's already won in excess of $650,000, taking a favoured spot at number 2. Of the other fancied horses, Castanilli will start from 9, with the Max Lees trained Satin Sand out of 3. As Brian suggested, it's a super field, with the only hotshot not to accept at the last moment, Prince Frolic. Robin Hoysted, who trains local horse Castanilla, will be trying to emulate his father Jim's 1966 success with Flotsam.
Riverdale. It's won a lot of money. Must be hard to... Do you get frightened about these super horses coming up here?
Oh, they don't frighten you, Lou, but they're always hard to beat. They've got to be hard to beat. And he's won 700,000, I think, Riverdale in prize money. He's a pretty good horse.
Something, isn't he?
Yeah, pretty good horse.
Gee, this fellow looks in fine fettle.
Yeah, he's pretty good. He's come up pretty good this time. The best he's ever come up this way. You know, he's getting older now and he's stronger every year.
We wish you all the best for Tuesday.
Thanks.
And let's hope we keep the big dollars in Newcastle.
Well, we've got it. It's about time we brought it back here.
In the Strait, Riverdale.
Here are the final stages of the Warwick Stakes run a couple of weeks back. It's the last time the champs clashed, but will they finish in the same order on Tuesday?
Line of three, and Bounty Hawk down the outside. It's Riverdale and Castanilla and Rising Prince. They're locked together, and Castanilla beat Rising Prince. Riverdale weakened. Then Lord of Camelot, Prolific, Handy Proverb. Then For Papa. They're followed by Bounty.
There are 136 original members of the 450 Squadron left, and every second year they gather together for a memorial service such as the one today at Williamtown's RAAF base. The squadron was the first of the Empire Air Training Schemes, and in 1941 they were stationed at Williamtown until their departure to the Middle East on April the 11th. Travelling the longest distance during wartime, the squadron served under Commanding Officer Gordon Steege, who was special guest at today's ceremony. 450 saw service in Palestine, Syria, Libya, Tunisia, Sicily, Italy and Malta. Out of the 285 original members, 58 lost their lives in aerial attacks and combat fighting. George Buckman was a ground engineer in the squadron, which was nicknamed by the enemy the Desert Harassers, a name which became synonymous with the unit's performance.
That was given to them by the rather famous propagandist Lord Haw-Haw, whereby the squadron's activities so irritated the Axis troops, Rommel's, Africa Corps and so on, that he called them the Desert Harassers, and to that day we still live under that banner.
We've gone about as far as we can at this stage, and all we're hoping for now is a fine day and a great clash between particularly Riverdale and Castanilla in the Cameron.
Things are coming together well for the Newcastle Jockey Club, and this is your feature of the year, isn't it?
Undoubtedly the feature of our racing calendar, yes, the NBN Cameron Winfield Gold Cup double, and undoubtedly also one of the feature race meetings throughout Australia.
And I believe the TAB are getting into the act with a feature double, which is something a little bit sort of new.
Yes, a first for us. Well, when I say a first, they did run feature doubles up until 5 or 6 years ago, and the TAB board's only recently decided to reintroduce feature doubles, and we'll be the first here at Newcastle with the NBN Cameron Winfield Gold Cup feature double.
Malcolm Johnson up here too, back from Singapore.
Making a return. He did ride in Sydney on Saturday, but Malcolm's memories will go back to 1979 when he did win the double, actually, Romantic Dream and Ico, and he's got 2 excellent mounts over the 2 days in the 2 feature races.
Almost everyone sees the Cameron as a race in 2. This, the Newcastle horse Castanilla, trained at Broadmeadow by Robin Hoysted. And the Gosford champion Riverdale, the winner of over $650,000 in prize money, trained by Neil Ward, who won't hear of defeat.
He's peaked at the right time. He's been kept nice and fresh for the 1400, the Cameron Handicap. We're very confident.
And Neil, do you think he's as good now as when he won the Epsom 12 months ago?
He's bigger and stronger than when he won the Epsom.
And of course, in the Tramway Handicap last Saturday week at Randwick, I thought he should have won.
He should have won. Peter, not knowing the horse that well, didn't make that much use of him early. But Noel Barker on him tomorrow, you'll see a different story.
The Broadmeadow track, he's never raced there. Does that hold any fears for you?
No fears at all.
Hundreds of students and proud parents packed the Raymond Terrace High School hall to watch textile and home science students from years 7 to 12 participate in the fashion parade. Senior students not only made their own garments, but were also responsible for many of the outstanding designs. Clothing ranged from casual to formal wear, and students took advantage of spring to introduce bright, cool garments. Satins and polished cottons were the most popular materials. Several Raymond Terrace fashion houses and hairstylists also contributed to the parade. Eight members of the Society are exhibiting 4 works each to show the diversity in technique and different uses wood-turning skills can be put to. Many objects are essentially practical, while others are for show only. In the 2 years since the Hunter Valley Woodturners Society was formed, its membership has expanded to 150 enthusiasts. Society President John Beckley says creativity is the key.
There's some that work to drawings all the time. We've got others that can do freehand turning and pick up the most unusual pieces of timber and make something quite beautiful out of it.
The exhibition continues until the 22nd of this month.
Without looking at me, Bill, when you get to that edge on the right-hand end, do yourself a right turn and keep working back up that other edge on the same bed. Place and everything's really good.